Here to talk more about his many, many contributions is none other than Dr. John Crowley, SWOG's former group statistician and Chief of Strategic Alliances at CRAB. Unlike Dr. LeBlanc, I don't believe he has utilized the dark side of the force for personal gain. Dr. Crowley.
Thank you, Dr. Blanke. I have to say I'm a little confused because I'm probably the only living boy who's never seen any of the Star Wars movies. So I'm not sure what all that was about. But I'm here to pay tribute to David Gandara, or Gandara, as they might say in Galicia. David has contributed over 25 years of leadership in the group formerly known as the Southwest Oncology Group. He was the chair of the Lung Committee until very recently. Adding those up, that's about 18 years. He was actively involved in many of the NCI committees that were set up. And I'll come back to this committee leadership and membership in a minute because I think it's important. His membership on the Investigational Drug Steering Committee and the Thoracic Oncology Steering Committee were crucial to further his mission in SWOG. David was the president of the International Association for the Study of Lung Cancer, 2009 to 2011, and was honored by that society with its most prestigious scientific award in 2013. The ISLC, I can't help but mention, is an amazing and wonderful society that many other disease sites might take lessons from as an international society devoted to all the aspects of a single disease. I stopped counting at around 500. I think there are more than that on his CV. David was, for a long time, the PI of a funded phase 1, phase 2 program. He served as editor of Clinical Lung Cancer. He's been at the University of California, Davis since before I knew him, I think. Recently was the associate director, and for many years, associate director for clinical science. I've had the privilege of being on the external advisory committee at the University of California, Davis, and I've watched that group improve throughout the years and attain comprehensive cancer center status within the last decade or so, in large part due to David's leadership. So what's been the impact and how has he done it? I would say David always had the ability to ask the important questions, and he challenged the rest of us to answer those questions with good trial design and good trial conduct. I've served under 4 disease committee chairs. I hope none of the rest of them are here to hear me say this, but David was the most prepared of all of them. Go to the lung committee, either the working group or the larger committee meeting, and you'll see examples of how to run a large organization through preparation. Very importantly, he had an inclusive style. He encouraged contributions from a diverse array of lung cancer investigators. Witness the successor as lung committee chair if you want to see that he walked the walk and not just talked the talk. As I've hinted, he's a very skillful onco-politician. Witness those committee memberships on the steering committees of the NCI. And after everyone had their chance to talk in the lung committee meetings, for example, David was not afraid to make a decision. I think they call that consensus with qualification. Everyone has their input, but someone decides, and David was very good at that. I think he had a unique vision, always to the future of clinical and translational research and science, and was, I think, early in SWOG to embed translational research within the lung committee. I spent a lot of time thinking about how I would outline some of the contributions in a more specific way. I've used a lot of the trials that we did together in the Lung Committee as examples, teaching examples. Not all of them always for the outcome, but always for the questions that were asked. So I finally decided to just show you a few of them. In stage 3 non-small cell lung cancer, David asked about the role of consolidation after chemoradiotherapy in SWOG S9504, a trial that was sometimes called, I think by Wally Curran, the Bob Beeman trial, for the fantastic leap forward that it achieved in the outcome for patients with this disease. He asked an important question early about the role of epidermal growth factor receptor TKIs as maintenance in our trial S0023. In stage 4 non-small cell lung cancer, he asked questions about the dose of cisplatin, sorry for the typo, way back in SWOG S8738. I think that's the first trial we did together, probably even before he was Lung Committee chair. He asked questions about platinum and platinum analog doublets and was really early to the game of doing economic analyses alongside a clinical trial in S9504. We were talking just earlier about the experience we had trying to leverage the Japan-US symposia into something workable with a tangible outcome. And we spent a lot of time together with Japanese investigators hammering out protocols with a common arm so we could try to tease out differences between the countries in terms of toxicity, metabolism of drugs, and outcome in our S0003. And finally, and I'll spend a little more time on this, the role of epidermal growth factor receptor monoclonal antibodies and their measurement through FISH in a series of trials culminating in S0819. And finally, through his leadership in the NCI Thoracic Steering Committee, was able to gain consensus about a land-breaking umbrella trial, a platform for asking questions about targeted agents in squamous cell carcinoma of the lung map study S1400, which has proven to be a robust platform for targeted agents. So this trial, SWOG S0819, was presented at the World Conference on Lung Cancer. That's the conference sponsored by the ISLC last September in Denver by Roy Herbst, who was the overall study PI. But it builds on a long series of trials in SWOG, so I'm using this as an illustration of how David always was planning ahead and then came through with those plans. The group at Colorado, led by Fred Hirsch, developed a way to measure gene amplification by FISH of the epidermal growth factor receptor. We tested out that measurement system as well as looking at the way to sequence cetuximab, either in combination or after chemotherapy, in a novel design, selection design, S0342, which also validated that assay for FISH. There's a further pilot looking at incorporating bevacizumab into this regimen, S0536. And finally, the randomized trial looking at the effect of cetuximab added to this regimen in stage 4 non-small cell lung cancer, S0819, schema shown here. I'll call your attention to an exploratory objective of that study, which was pre-specified, an analysis looking at the subset of squamous cell carcinoma of the lung. Here's a slide I've often used in teaching because we're quite proud of this design, looking at a couple hits on the goal, a couple ways to have a success in this trial. We looked at not only all comers, but also the targeted subset who were positive based on the FISH assay. So this design was laid out by the SWOG statistician for the Lung Committee, Mary Redman, splitting the alpha between the overall test of hypothesis, the large group in blue, and the subset of FISH-positive patients, so a couple chances on goal. And here is just one bit of the results. I previewed this by calling your attention to the pre-planned subset analysis for squamous cell carcinoma and the FISH-positive subset, tantalizing positive subset analysis for cetuximab in this context. This led to the conclusion that squamous cell is an important area for future study, singled out now for the first time in 30 years from the rest of non-small cell lung cancer, and leads to the SWOG Lung Master Protocol, Lung Map, the umbrella trial, S1400. The initial design of which is shown here. Patients are screened for possible mutations and then moved into the appropriate sub-study looking at targeted agents. As you've followed along, this platform, which took a lot of work to establish but was done in a relatively short time by government standards, has proved robust to the march of time. Not only have some arms had to leave the stage, but sometimes a whole redesign was called for due to fantastic results with the new immuno-oncology agents in this disease subset. So here's the current design, which allows for the fact that the standard of care in this subset of patients has changed recently. Phase 2 studies followed by potential registration phase 3 studies if there's a hit. Ongoing, and you've heard highly successfully accruing trial due to David's incredible vision and leadership. So Dr. Gandara, now the new senior advisor to the SWOG group chair, I thank you and SWOG thanks you.